Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is it. This is it. This is it. We're going to learn today. Picture. Soak it all in. Okay. Building in Azeroth, a first look at housing. Hey, it's Soul. We're going to do a blog read and we're going to react and we're going to gush and we're going to get mad and we're going to feel all sorts of emotions. Please like the video, subscribe for more stuff. Chat is up there. Say hi if you feel like it. And let's get to reading. The construction of the new housing system in Azeroth is underway, and we're taking you behind the scenes to give you an early look at what the housing development team has been working on. Watch your step and don't mind the dust. Hard hats are not required. Cute. Welcome home, dudes. We're excited to kick off our first look at housing in World of Warcraft and share some of our philosophies and plans for this new feature with you. First up, we're focusing on our high-level design pillars for housing, as well as talking about a few key areas of housing as we lay the foundation for future discussions. The puns will be endless. We have lots to cover, so let's jump in. Fortifying housing with pillars. When developing such a large new feature, it's useful to start by first defining its pillars. They help the development team get on the same page before we start building, as well as providing a guiding light when making decisions and identifying priorities. It's important to note that while these pillars are broad in scope by their nature, they aren't all-encompassing. Just because something isn't mentioned in the pillar doesn't mean it's not important or isn't part of the feature. Our 3 pillars for housing. But first, some concept art. Ooh, food. Bed, table, shelves, lights, wall stuff, weapon thingies. No customized weapons yet, but well, let's keep going. So concept art for the rugged decor. So there's like categories and stuff. 1 is a boundless self-expression. Our highest priority is to allow players to build a house that shows off their own personal tastes or their warbands, acts as a desired backdrop for role-playing, or just allows players to create something in a flight of fancy. The toolset should be easy enough for someone with no 3D experience to be comfortable with and use successfully, but should also be powerful enough that players can surprise us with their creations or drill down to get the tiniest details just right. The gamut of decor options spans not just the cultures of Azeroth, but the many expansions of World of Warcraft as well. Deeply social, World of Warcraft is more fun with other players, and housing should be no different. While players can enjoy housing purely on their own, its systems are designed at a fundamental level to encourage interacting, playing, and progressing with friends, neighbors, guilds, and the wider community in a meaningful way. Long-lasting journey. Housing is built as an evergreen addition to the game with its own roadmap, reaching across multiple patches and into future expansions. Housing isn't something players should expect to, quote, finish, but instead continue to look forward to the next housing release, be it new content or systems. This is a long-term commitment for us as developers and offers players rewards all along the way. One important note, even though it's not an explicit pillar, wide adoption is a primary consideration for us as well. Most players should want a house in Azeroth, and if a player wants a house in Azeroth, they can have a house in Azeroth. Furthermore, housing is being designed to scale with the player's interest. If someone wants to spend dozens of hours a week on their house, that's great. If they're only interested in coming and going once or twice a month, that's great too. Yes. Zoning in on a home. We've seen a lot of discussion and speculation from the community on where players will be able to have houses. We decided early on that there would be 2 housing zones available at launch, one for Alliance and one for Horde, with more possible places to live in the future. The Alliance zone takes inspirations from Elven Forest with touches of Westfall and Duskwood, and the Horde is inspired by Durotar, its coastline, and Ashara. There are 2 main reasons for this decision. Having many housing zones conflicts with the second pillar of designing a feature that is deeply social. In a world where players can live in many different zones, they become increasingly spread out, and even with aggressive sharding, the chance of seeing other players, much less interacting with them, drops quickly. Ooh, that has some implications on like whether we can see other people's houses on a regular basis, but anyway. 2, putting it bluntly, zones are a lot of work. We'd much rather do a great job with a small number of zones than do a passable job on a large number, or come up with solutions that take the player out of the world into their own personal instance of a zone. So they want a non-instanced thing. They don't want houses to be separated. We chose this as our starting points because of how iconic they are for their respective factions and how they feel like home to so many players already. interesting about the zoning stuff. We're excited for what we'll be able to accomplish with the 2 zones, and we'll be sharing more of what this means in future updates. Outfitting your home and more concept stuff. So this is the idea of the folk decor. I want to have like the whatever the hell I want kind of decor. You know what I mean? Like if I want half of this here and the other half like some of this, I want to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Anyway. Similarly, there have been discussions in the community on whether housing will be a pay-to-play win or not, along with other conversations about real-world money. We've been very aligned in our internal conversations that housing is designed to be primarily player-first and not revenue-first. Housing will offer hundreds and hundreds of decorations and house customizations via in-game rewards, but will also offer a smaller number of items in the cash shop as well. This is comparable to how transmogs and pets are currently handled in-game versus the shop. We want to allow players to have as many options as possible for creating their perfect home in Azeroth. So some people are going to be pretty unhappy about that because they're going to feel like, oh, so the paid stuff is going to be like really, really good looking stuff. Meanwhile, the free stuff is just like blah, blah, blah. But I think we've been seeing kind of like a 95-5 ratio of items that are attained in game versus ones that are like just from the shop. And even then, the trading post throws a wrench in any of that rhetoric. A home for everyone. As a part of our focus on wide adoption, we wanted to ensure that housing is available for everyone. If you want a house, you can have a house. No exorbitant requirements or high purchase costs, no lotteries, and no onerous upkeep. And if your subscription lapses, don't worry, your house does not get repossessed. Woohoo! Your houses are also shared amongst your warband, with your different characters being able to come and go as you see fit. So your orc character can hang out in your alliance house without a problem. Housing rewards are also shared across your warband, so you'll be able to use your decor collection no matter which character earns it. Oh, they're getting so just like what I was kind of predicting or hoping for. It's just kind of like this transmog unlock sort of thing. Furthermore, it's not just warbands that cross factional lines, but friendships as well. So you'll be able to live in or visit your friends or guildmates' houses and their neighbors with minimal restrictions regarding faction. For example, while it's not possible for your human character to buy a house in the Horde zone, your troll character in the same warband can, and then your human can use it as if it were their own. So it works, I guess. Will you be my neighbor? More concept. So this is the concept of the Orgrimmar/Durotar housing. So it's a neighborhood. The Horde neighborhood. That's dope. Oh, that's so cool. So guessing here, we're going to have like plots that we choose. We can choose whatever. And then, if there happens to be like 1,000 people at this particular plot, cool, then you go there, but then where you go is your house. My question is like, how is it that you see other people's houses? Like, is there a priority? Does it randomly change? That'd be kind of weird. So yeah. Before we go, we want to mention the concept of neighborhoods as a small tease. Houses are organized into roughly 50 plot neighborhoods, letting players live next to each other, work together, and sharing the rewards of being part of the neighborhood. Neighborhoods are instant, but crucially also persistent, so your neighbors can be your neighbors for years to come, or until one of you moves. Neighborhoods come in 2 flavors. There's public neighborhoods, which the game servers are responsible for creating as needed and maintaining, and private neighborhoods created by groups of friends or guilds to inhabit, progress, and customize together. We are going to make an HOA, for sure. So while an individual player can have a house, a community can have a neighborhood. That's just an initial look on what we're doing. So yeah, I'm so back to this shot here. So we're gonna have like this, at least as a starting neighborhood, this seems cool. It'll be cool to see what Elwyn Forest has to offer as well. And it is neat that even if it's not good, even if like I as a blood elf am gonna be looking at this house first, if I happen to get on another character from the alliance and then build a house, I could just tell my blood elf, hey, I'm gonna go there, I'm just gonna live there, and that's fine. because just warbands, fuck it, right? But I really like this idea of neighborhood. So high level, big zone is what we're going to get for housing. There's going to be something like 50 or so houses that are here. Now, of course, there are a lot of details that we're missing too, like the actual housing construction and all that. And I'd love to learn more. But seeing the concept like this, I think this is pretty cool because you can have like these different sorts. You can have like these different sorts of locations. You can be right down there on the beach. You can overlook the beach. You can be like in a bit more inland. You can be underground near the water. Or not or not close to the water. You can be further up here on these higher plateaus near this kind of foresty area. So it looks like you'll be able to get like a wide spread of different, like I said, kind of different biomes, different looks that are immediately around your house. But also just kind of walk over and be like, oh yeah, cool. Let me walk over there and check some stuff out. Something that sticks out like a sore thumb is that, as you can see in this concept, this is just a concept, these are all very horde-looking buildings. And I don't want a horde-looking building. I would rather have something that is more akin to like Blood Elves and so on and so forth. Now, that might be the restriction that we'll have to encounter here. Like it might be like, okay, so all the houses here, they're going to have this orcish vibe to it. And then we'll have to, I guess, endure it until the Silver Moon one comes out. And then people will be like, all right, cool, I'm going to have my main house over in Silver Moon. I'm going to be moving over there. And some people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to move over to like wherever the Draenei are hanging out. And so I can have that sort of architecture because, that's the unfortunate thing about having to kind of like make up all these different sorts of architectures where currently the most established kind of housing comes from mostly orcish and human buildings. But even then, not so orcish. Like orcs barely have what you can call buildings anyway. But I'm liking this so far. What other things that I have to comment on here? I do like, being deeply social, the whole thing with the neighborhoods, that's a cool thing. The fact that they're reiterating that this is going to be an evergreen feature is also awesome. They're backing up the limitations of the current housing, with only having like these two major zones available, is that they're going to keep going and they're going to keep expanding and they're going to hopefully listen to feedback. And if, some of the chat here was saying, hey, some people want a bit more actual functionality in these houses. Like, is it just going to be limited to decorating and that's it? That might not vibe very well. But if they listen to the feedback and then we might learn, oh, there's going to be like quest things that happen there that loop into more player housing rewards or even other kinds of rewards, other story questing, main story quest lines, stuff like that. That's something that they're going to build on. But, first and foremost, they're just trying to get things off the ground and up and running. The one small concern that I have so far, so now that I'm looking at this in a different light. So like, not to say that Stormwind is going to be back there, but people are going to have like this sort of neighborhood vibe when they're walking through like this sort of district that is just reserved for housing. The concern that I have here is that there's like this concept art for this new rugged decor. I'm going to kind of go all over with the takes here, but I hope it's not like, oh, if you wanted to choose like this kind of house, you can only choose between these kinds of decorations to put up. Like that would put me off. I was saying earlier, like, hey, what if I want this, and this, but I want it to like hang out in this sort of house? Like, would I be able to do that? If the location of the house is either in Stormwind or either around Stormwind or Orgrimmar, does that mean the decorations are going to be themed after that too? So are there going to be Alliance only decorations and Horde only decorations? Like that, I don't know how I'm not quite sure how I'd feel about that. But I do like the little, it was kind of a fun little jab where they talked about, no, you're not going to have like rent. You're not going to have, here we go, no requirements, no lotteries, no upkeep. You're going to have your house. Everyone gets a house. So these are cool. predictably, they just want to get things off the ground. They just want to get this thing started, get like the basics in before they try to introduce like other concepts that might distract from what's most important, which is getting this house up and up and going. But of course, I'd love to learn more. What we got here was a nice big bite out of, like, again, the high level concepts, and I'm pretty cool with it so far. So let me know what you guys think, and what questions do you feel like were answered? What new questions do you have? Like Goose is asking, like, what about professions? You know, they didn't talk about how professions are going to tie into this. They just said that things are going to be like unlocked across the warband, which is very cool. But we'll have to wait and see for more. But in the meantime, yeah, leave your comments and whatnot. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.